Welcome back to the mystery of mass dolls. If you haven't already, make sure to check out part 1 of this mystery before continuing the story. Today, we're going to be taking a look at a similar event which occurred in the 1950s, a location known as La Isla De Las Muñecas, south of Mexico City, an island inhabited full of creepy-looking dolls which have decayed over time. The questions behind the mystery of who was responsible for it and why. Why would anyone do something like that? Similar to what Frank discovered in his explorations too. Now, as a brief backstory to help understand the situation, the island was supposedly decorated by Julian Santana Barrera. He believed it would help cleanse of negative spirits, like if the island was haunted, inhabited by a dark presence. But why would it be? What happened back then? Well, in the past, a young girl supposedly drowned in a canal on the island. Santana claimed to have heard her cry for help, saying, "I want my doll back." But he was too late, and she passed away. From interpretation, most likely the young girl was playing around and dropped her doll into the water. And when she tried jumping in to rescue it, she got herself into danger, hence the outcome. Now, post-event, when Santana ever went within the area, he said he found dolls every time he was there, and more kept appearing over time. Now, due to certain reports and information, you could argue there are slight contradictions, as it states Julian was responsible for decorating it, and yet elsewhere it says he was the one that just came across him out of nowhere. You can interpret it however you want, but the mystery is still present. The visual look of the dolls, how they appear, it does look pretty dark. Whether it be just through decay, time and wear, they do look spooky. Even though they may be lifeless, they kind of resemble the everlasting presence of what went down within the area. At a later date though, linking back to Santana, he died in the same spot where the girl did. Could it be haunted? Was it the spirit of the girl who was responsible for the dolls and the possible death of the guy? I guess we'll never know. Now, as for travelling to the island and exploring, sure, you can visit. From what I've seen at least, there aren't any restrictions. However, maybe locals, people that can get you out there on boat, some are reluctant to do so because of superstition. Some are potentially worried that the same fate will happen to them if they step foot or get in close proximity of the island. It's understandable considering what's previously happened. Now, when you compare Doll Island with Frank's discovery, there are similarities, and I don't just mean the dolls in general, but the condition of them. If you put them side by side, this is what they look like. As you can see, both look worn and decayed over time through weather or something else, which means they've been there for quite a while. Now, okay, we know with Doll Island, it says it dates back to the 1950s, so that is a while ago. With Frank's discovery, that's unknown of, but if you're comparing in terms of visual looks of the dolls, you could suggest that, yes, they have been there for some time. It would make you think then, okay then, who owns the house nearby? Are they quite old? Have they been around since that point when the dolls were there because they placed them there? Or could new people have moved in at a point in time and kept the dolls up because it looked creepy and it looked cool to them? You never know. And, you know, at the end of the day, in terms of how they both look and appear, they are creepy. So then it makes you think, is there a darker reason behind it? I mean, if the dolls were paranormal, haunted, some kind of dark spirit to do with the girl on the island, then could there be some kind of paranormal activity occurring where Frank was? Like, what happens if you went there at night time and you had what an EVP recording or something? Could it pick up anything? You never know. You know, maybe there is a darker reason behind it. Anyway, let's just keep that in mind. What we're going to do now, we're going to take a look at a website which gives a definition, a deeper meaning, reasoning behind, you know, the word doll, dolls. See if there's any history behind it, and see if there's any like links, connections that can be made from Doll Island to Frank's discovery. Let's get into it now. So the website is called symbolreader.net. The doll as a symbol, October the 7th, 2019, when the article was done. Let's read through it now. The doll is a curious and polyvalent symbol. On one hand, there is no shortage of creepy dolls in horror movies. Furthermore, in his Dictionary of Symbols, Juan Eduardo Girot speaks of dolls solely in the context of psychopathology and a regression to an infantile state. To add to this dark portrayal of dolls, they have been used to symbolize stiff social roles of women expected to behave and look in a certain way. In Ibsen's play A Doll's House, the main character talks bitterly of her married life. What does this say? I have been your doll wife, just as at home I was Daddy's doll. Sorry, I don't know why I said that. And the children in turn have been my dolls. I thought it was fun when you came and played with me, just as they thought it was fun when I went to play with them. That's been our marriage. Torvald, whatever that is. Oh, is it a book or something? Doll's house. Trapped within. I get it. Anyway. Nevertheless, in ancient civilizations, dolls played a magic role alongside their socializing function. In ancient Greece, dolls were very popular as votive offerings and were found in large numbers near caves of the nymphs. Caves. Reminds me of the M cave. 1. The word nymphi in ancient Greek, which signified a female divinity on the one hand and a bride on the other, was also sometimes used to refer to dolls. On the one hand, nymphs were perceived as the divine beings who were desirable, free of familial restrictions, but they also held patronage over bridal rights and female rights of social transition. Larson explains, the ornamentation of the doll corresponds to the value placed upon the conventional measures of female beauty, especially in the context of wedding. And here we go, we got a photo of a doll. Looks to be man-made. You can see it's got pins within it to hold it together. Scroll down, this should be context. Ancient Greek terracotta doll, I see. It reads, also, Marija Gimbutas mentions the role dolls play during the celebration of the pagan festival of known as Brigid's Day. Her feast on February 1st celebrated the first signs of spring and the lactation of the ewes, symbolizing new life. It was the day of purification and the homage to the goddess. People poured milk on the ground as an offering and baked special cakes. Girls carried dolls in her image in procession through the town, and each house welcomed the goddess. Clarissa Pinkola Estes offers as a very unique and beautiful perspective on the lost symbolic meaning of dolls. She approaches it through the tale of Vasilisa, who received a wooden doll as a gift from a dying mother. The doll proved to be of supernatural help to her as a voice of inner wisdom and intuition. In the absence of her mother, Vasilisa received guidance, comfort, and nurturance from the doll. And here we go, we got a little photo of it down here, depiction. There's one near Woodlands looking at a house. And she's got a doll in her pocket. Now, the way they look from the back, because of the hairstyle and the colour of the dress, they look like, what was it, Elsa from Frozen. Anyway, there's a link to it. Estes writes, for centuries, humans have felt that dolls emanate both a holiness and manner, an awesome and compelling presence which acts upon persons, changing them spiritually. The doll is the symbolic homunculi little life. It is a symbol of what lies buried in humans, that is numinous. It is a small and glowing facsimile of the original self. God, who comes up with these words? Superficially, it is just a doll, but inversely, it represents a little piece of soul that carries all the knowledge of the larger soul self. In the doll is the voice, in diminutive, of old La Que Sab, the one who knows. Although the dolls may symbolize soullessness, that's what I brought up in the past. The healthy life of the psyche cut short by death or madness, or the stifling social expectations towards women. They also stand for the wisdom and numinosity of the inner voice whispering to us from the depth of the heart. So depending how you see it, it's just one of those things where you can associate it with horror, darkness, dark presence, and stuff like that. It can also symbolize, I guess, growing up as a child, but maybe certain expectations or how people see certain people at a point in time. And now it's going on about saying how there is a positive side though to it, as the doll can be your maybe like inner voice or something, like a form of guidance and balance to help you, I guess. Anyway, what else does it say? So there's a little picture of something. Now, I think that's a woman, but it looks like they've got a moustache. I might be wrong. And then there's a doll next to her, which appears kind of creepy looking, but yeah. Frida Kahlo, Me and My Doll. Another one there, a bit more of a traditional one, the way it's dressed. It looks to be wooden, that, and carved too. Is that, mother and child doll, Native American. Okay. And there's some notes. Yeah, so that's about it. So after reading through that article, a few interesting points raised. I mean, in terms of positive and negative, there's a mix. How many of those points, though, link to Doll Island and Frank's finding? I'd say at least two of them. One, the horror aspect, the dark side of it, how they can appear twisted, creepy looking, soullessness, as was mentioned in the article. I brought that up in part one of this video, the mystery. And what I mean by the soullessness of it, like there's no life within it, obviously because it's an inanimate object, but it's like an object, but to represent a person because of what it's shaped as. It's a doll. It's normally maybe representing, could be a baby or it could be a child, but because it's not alive, and even just the visual look of it, especially when it's decayed over time and it looks a bit creepy, it looks dead, literally. So that's what has that creepy sense and presence around it. Just like when you get real people who have been mummified over time or preserved, you know, they're dead and yeah, I guess they look dead, but it's still got that creepy presence behind it. And that's like with the dolls, you look at them and it's not going to say anything, it's not going to do anything, but you still feel, you know, uneasy around them. And maybe that's the case with Doll Island, especially if there's a death there and those dolls have just appeared. It kind of represents the situation of the girl, no longer present or alive. So that's one way of looking at it. In Frank's case, could still apply because the dolls do look lifeless, and especially with the missing limbs and burnt face. If that was with a real human, they probably wouldn't be alive, would they? You know, etc., etc. Now, tying it on in terms of the other point mentioned on the article, like, okay, it's a bit more in a positive way, but like that inner voice from the heart or something, a doll represents you within, something you can't express, but the doll can. I think that's what they were getting at. I mean, if you put it in a darker vision, darker slant to it, you could say those dolls in a situation representing the death of someone is almost like speaking on behalf of them or continuing maybe the legacy of that person in some way. You know, that's the only way I can see it, really. I mean, it applies more with Doll Island because you know there was a person there at a time and bad things happened to them, and maybe the dolls are there as a memorial or there to protect her in the afterlife, or I don't know, done like a nice way, like she lost a doll but she gained many after, in a way, something like that. It does make you think, in Frank's situation with those dolls, could people who own the house nearby have put all those dolls there for a deeper reason? Did they have a child at some point who passed away and they decided to decorate that area in remembrance of the child? Or did the homeowners or people back in the past ended up, deciding to do it as a form of warning off bad spirits, to get rid of any negative energy, to cleanse stuff? I mean, completely unrelated, but like with the Kenny Veach mystery, with the Reiki Healing Center, how they've got, spiritual items in there, and they claimed that it was all these orbs and negative energy being cleansed. So could that be done with dolls as well in Frank's situation? You never know. I think at the end of the day, there might be more information that will come out down the line, What I will do is maybe ask Frank, if possible, if there is like details of the location, any coordinates, names of roads, and then can do a map analysis. Some people might be like, yeah, but why and how and what will it reveal? Well, if you've been following the M Cave Kenny Veach mystery, it can show some interesting findings, right? Yeah. So yeah, that's what I will do. If I know where it is and stuff, there will be a part 3. But I'd say that's it for now. It's it's interesting how there is more than one example. Yes, Frank found what he found, but there are pre-existing things, so there could be links made. You can leave a comment down below, give your opinion on Doll Island, but also give your opinion on Frank's discovery, and is there any link between the 2 events? Okay, so that's it for now. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Goodbye.